I wanted to know what the Devdasi means.
The term Devadasi literally comes from a Sanskrit term. Devas is gods and Dasi is servant.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Japa kusuma sankasham kashapeyam mahadvitim tamorim sarva papagnam pranatosmi divakaram dadhi shankha tusharabham Shirodarnavasambhavam Namami.
It was a very clear ritual where you're married to a particular possession of the temple deity. The thali, like the Mangal Sutra, was tied around the girl on that day where she is now wedded forever.
Shakti hastam cha Mangalam pranamamyaham.
And these were the dancing girls. So they studied the traditional classical arts of music and dance and poetry.
Soumya gunopetam tam buddham pranamamyaham. Devanam cha rishinam cha gurun kanchana sannibham.
They started at the age of 8 or younger, but usually 8 or 9. They were brought to the temples by the parents. They were not a caste system, they were not part of any caste.
Sarva Shastra Pravaktaram Bhargavam Pranamamyaham Neelanjana Samabhasam Raviputram Yamagrajam.
But if they did not reach that status of being able to perform the arts, they could not become Devdasis.
Ardhakaya Mahavirya Chandra Ditya Vimardhanam.
She was always richly adorned. She would have her hair always washed with fresh jasmine flowers, eyes done in kohl, the vermilion auspicious mark of being a bride. The hands, as you see, mine are painted. The hands again signify that she is not a widow. She has the rich symbols of fertility, red being the color of life, and prosperity. And she could decide and she would choose very much if she wanted, apart from being married to the deities, to procreate. It was not something which was forced on her. because she was a free-spirited woman who could dance, play the music, the veena, whichever instrument, and being in her presence, one thought one is fortunate. She brings auspiciousness and good energy. She could walk around and look at nature to be creative. You know, she could sit by a stream and just say, okay, I want to compose a poem. There's water. I see the bubbles forming, to see the fish moving. Nature was part of the dance. They were never separated. So all of it, you know, the beauty of the majestic mountains, the Himalayas, the beauty, the soft wind that blows, the Malay mountain breeze, the smell of cloves, the intoxication of the cinnamon, the sound of the bird that takes flight and looking, the beauty as the stream is gentle and as it is not gentle, and the waves cascading. So the majestic quality of nature is captured. You do have a connection. You actually, when you dance, you see Krishna and you see Vishnu and you see Shiva, and it's a high that you cannot explain. Apart from her activities, she also is to be the arbitrator in community matters. Next to the temple priest, she was the number 2 in hierarchy, because she is the bride of the gods. When they abolished Devdasis and the tradition, it obviously fell into disrepute. I mean, these are very talented, beautiful young women, highly desirable, but who were protected by society till then. We had the colonial rule, the British viewing it that anyone who makes eyes and talks is a bad, notch person, because, you know, the whole of India and the culture in the country is you speak with your eyes and your face. So if in dance you do that much more, you know, British rule came in and said, well, this is, you know, these glances are not appropriate. The dance was poetry. Poetry was evocative, it was erotic as well. It talked about emotions, human emotions, which have never changed whichever country you're in. And it talked about, especially for the common man, fertility. And the base of the temple had a lot of the fertility themes, where they could see that, well, this is how, you know, it is all right to procreate and to continue. Yoga, the Kama Sutra, Indian classical dance, they all are one. It is all about, you know, love and the beauty of love. Love is the dominant queen mood. But with love, what happens? With love, there is anger because you're angry at something because there is love. Because of that, there is also suspicion. Does he really love me? I don't know. Because of that, there's grief, separation and parting. Because of that, there is the anticipation. So all the different moods are really through the queen dominant emotion of love, and love that the Devdasi or the dancer, the individual, where she is just the instrument, she is the soul, the Atma, seeking for a union with the greater soul, Paramatma. one patron had to take care of her, so her sexual needs were taken care of as well. She decided who she wanted to be with. It was not imposed on her. She didn't have to be his wife, nor was she a prostitute by any stretch of imagination. So she was known as Nitya Sumangali, which means that she is forever free from being a widow. But more than that, she is married without having any of the obligations. This continued as a tradition right till much later, when the Devdasi Protection Act came into place and they abolished the very existence of the Devdasis. But when you are performing and you are there, you have gone on to a different plane. And if someone beckons you from there or there, you will cross over to the other. And that is the sheer magic of it, which is frightening, because when you are doing it, you start off and then you don't know what it is, where it's going to lead you. And you are in awe of this great art because you respect it, because it has actually shown you a path that you still are discovering as you go along.
भई एक उड़ता पंछी, भोर 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 भई एक उड़ता पंछी, जा बैठा एक डाल, जा बैठा एक डाल, जा बैठा एक डाल, जा बैठा एक डाल, भोर 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 भई एक उड़ता पंछी, भोर 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 भई एक उड़ता पंछी।
To my ankles were bound these bells so they would always know where to find me. In my heart, I carry buried promises of a world my mother will never see. They call me the wronged one, the dancing girl, the temple prostitute, the fallen woman, whose oppressors by day hunted her down by night, the one who crossed oceans to be a slave. But I am a Devdasi, lover of the Lord, and for Him alone I exist. In this offering, I give to you my divine love. In joining my hands together, I invoke the spirit in me to meet that in you. I place these fragrant flowers where your feet once rested. These 5 fingers of my right hand that hold this flower exemplify the 5 senses. I offer you my senses. And with this red powder upon my forehead, I thee wed. I am eternally free from widowhood. Jewels of the temple, heirs to wealth and property, patrons of the arts, and now reduced to little more than prostitutes. These wives and lovers of God and the priests lived in temples and took care of them like they would a home. The ancient woman of the temple dictated the very first Kama Sutra. Their art of sexual healing was sacred, and this was the responsibility they carried and treasured for many centuries. And with this, they gave birth to Bharatnatyam, the classical dance of India. My story is a simple one. Born to a family of Devdasis, never knowing a father, I reached puberty in love with Lord Krishna. How could I have resisted that playful smile and the blueness of his supple body? In the heart of a bustling New York borough, I continue this ancient tradition. When I was little, my mother would tell me stories of a more beautiful land. For a greater cause I was meant. She told me that my precious one lived also in a temple in this faraway land and that one day he would call for me. And so I waited. Soldiers leave home for war. I left bravely to heal. I am an anachronism. I am that stranger in a crowd. I am the face you wondered about in passing.
Alam, alam, alam. Amenu, amen. Shri Hamar Yase Al-Madhba
I am the eyes that watch your freedom from a distance. I live amongst you.
Alam, alam, alam. Amenu, amen. ਵੇ